Hi, I'm Joe Barreto. Welcome back to the channel. Now that graduation season is upon us, the question I get asked the most from parents is, now that my son or daughter is getting ready for college or getting ready for the workforce, how can I help them build their credit or improve their credit or even just get a credit card? Well, there are a lot of options you have, but to me, the best option you're going to have is to add them as an authorized user to one of your credit card accounts. All right, so we're going to go over the pros and cons in this video. So let's get into this. Now, one of the pros of getting an authorized user is that you're going to be able to manage that card because they're going to be under your account. It's not like your son or daughter is going to have their own account that they applied for. They're literally going off of your credit. So if you have, let's say, a card like I did with my son with JetBlue and or United when he was away at the University of Pittsburgh, I actually added him to my both of those cards because he was using his debit card from TD Bank, and he went out one night and somehow the number was lifted off the card. The card was used and money was taken out of an account in Long Island while he was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And then fighting to get that fixed was a headache. You had to show proof where you were. It took a couple of weeks to get it resolved. Ultimately, he didn't have to pay that money back out of his account, but it was a pain in the neck. So I ended up calling JetBlue, and the woman there said, just add your son to the account. And she said, you'll see, it'll help out in the long run because you'll be able to manage his expenses, and then you're going to get whatever expenses are charged as points back to your card. So one of the pros in doing this, if you add your son or daughter to your account as an authorized user, or anyone for that matter, is that you're going to help them build their credit, even if they're younger than being able to apply for a card. So you can do this if your child is 14 or 15, not give them the physical card, but just have them listed as an authorized user, because all you need is their name, social security number, and date of birth, and you can add them to any one of your cards. So this way they can start building or establishing a credit based off of your credit. Now, the longer your credit history, the better your credit history. Then when they get ready to use their cards or to open up their own credit lines, they're going to have a solid credit history behind them. So to me, the biggest pro of adding an authorized user to your account, especially for your son or the daughter to get ready for the workforce or to go to college because expenses come up, is to add them as an authorized user. Just call the number in back of the card. Some people say you can do it online. I'd rather call the person up on the card and just kind of go over everything with them. Make sure you know what the interest rate is at that time. Make sure you set parameters. You could set a limit of $500 or $1,000 a month because you want to make sure that you have control, because ultimately you're responsible for any charges on these cards. So any authorized user that you add, even if you're doing it from the goodness of your heart, you're responsible for those bills, okay? So again, one of the pros is you're going to help them build their credit, and actually pretty quickly, by adding them as an authorized user. Now, the other thing is you're going to have a way to get more points and more bang for your buck. So if your son or daughter is in college and they're away and they're purchasing things for school, those points will then be transferred into your account. So you can pool a lot of points onto the cards that you have. For instance, if you're using an airline card because they're traveling back and forth, then you're going to have those as miles. If you're giving them a card like an American Express or a Chase Sapphire card, then you're going to get those as points. So I really feel that you're going to have the opportunity to build your points portfolio by adding these authorized users. But before you do, make sure you sit down with them and you go over everything with them clearly and explain to them how they have to be responsible. Explain to them how, you're just trying to help them secure a better financial future because they're going to come out of either college or going into the workforce with a great credit score because you helped them get there. So you have to be, cognizant of that. You're doing them that favor. A lot of people just have their kids apply on their own, and what ends up happening is they're going to get a very small credit limit, or they're going to have an astronomical APR, or then they're not even going to get accepted at all. So doing this, you're helping them short term and long term, but you have to go over with them to be responsible and how to manage it, the right way. Now, the other thing is, if you're not careful, here's a big con. They're going to run up your credit utilization. So if you have a $10,000 credit line on that particular credit card, and your son or daughter decided to have a grand old time, go on spring break, and run up $4,000 in charges at a hotel or at a resort or whatever, remember, at a $10,000 credit limit, if they spend $4,000 on that really extravagant trip, that's 40% utilization right there on their own. So be sure you set limits so that they can get used to living within those parameters. You don't want to just tell them, here's a card, carte blanche, knock yourself out, spend what you want to spend, because you're going to run into a heck of a lot of trouble at that point. So now it may seem to you right now, you're like, damn, why do I want to add them as an authorized user if I'm going to get all these headaches in the long term? The reality is you're going to really help them establish that credit so that when they get ready for the workforce, they're not starting at zero. They have a solid credit score. Let's say, a 720, 730, which is huge when you're 21 or 22 years old and you're getting ready for the workforce and you want to apply for credit on your own, or you want to get that first new car, or they want to do, pay for a master's degree even. You want to get the best credit score so that you don't pay higher interest rates, so you don't pay all these exorbitant fees. You want to make sure that you're approved right out the gate. So again, adding them as an authorized user is huge. So sit with them, go over all the pros and cons with them. Make sure that they understand that you didn't have to do this. You're doing them a favor, and this way they can use it responsibly and they can help also you in the long run get more points for your trip, to just celebrate all the great things that your child is doing right now in either school or getting ready for the workforce. So if you have any questions or comments on any of the things I just discussed, do me a favor, leave those comments below. Have you ever added an authorized user to your account? If so, how was that experience? Would you even consider it? Or you can even do it for a spouse. Have you done it for a friend? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time.